Interesting. Interesting. Ooh, look at this. Oh, I found the Master Chief. Hey guys, I'm great. Anyway, continue. Epic Game Store will welcome NFT games after Steam bans them. Okay, well let's see what this is all about. Tim Sweeney once said NFTs were tangled up with an traceable mix of scams, but now, well, So, just for a reference point, NFTs are non-fungible tokens, and it's basically like if there was like 100 shoes made, right, and I had one of them, and I was given like the first shoe that was made. That's essentially what an NFT is. It's like saying you have the the ownership of a digital thing, and it's kind of dumb because they use blockchains to verify this, which causes a ton of pollution and whatnot. I just think in general cryptocurrencies are kind of stupid, just with like what it stands for and whatnot, like what's created with it. But that's besides the point. But let's continue reading on. Epic Games and its CEO Tim Sweeney are open to letting games that use blockchain technology and NFTs onto its PC store, even as NFTs continue to be criticized for being a giant planet-burning scam filled with grifters. It is, speaking of which. This follows Valve's decision to remove and ban all games that utilize NFTs and blockchain technology. This is getting interesting now, isn't it? Hey everyone. So, first things first, we're going to talk about Epic Games and Steam and their differing opinions about NFTs, and we'll talk about a few other things on the way there. But I did find this kind of interesting to see, especially since Tim Sweeney did criticize NFTs, and NFTs are basically grifters and planet-burning scams. But let's continue to the rest of this article, shall we? And so, as I mentioned before, it's criticized for being a giant planet-burning scam filled with grifters, and it basically is, right? Epic Games told The Verge that although there may be some limitations, it is open to working with devs who want to use blockchain technology, NFTs, and cryptocurrencies in games that could appear on the publisher's digital storefront. Basically saying, following the publication of a story about his company's interest in allowing NFT tech on its storefront, stating that the Epic Game Store will welcome games that make use of blockchain technology provided they follow the relevant laws, disclose their terms, and are age-rated by an appropriate group. And so the tweet here, well, welcome to games, yada yada yada. And so, one other thing. Though Epic's not using crypto in our games, we welcome innovation in the areas of technology and finance. So, yeah, as stated before, this seems to be directly contradicting statements from Sweeney released via Twitter last month, basically saying, the CEO saying that he wouldn't touch NFTs because the whole field is currently tangled up with an intraceable mix of scams, interesting decentralized tech foundations, and scams. And now he's suddenly open to it? And so, it feels kind of weird, right? If you're into this one thing a month ago, and then you change your mind, there's gotta be some reason, right? I think particularly it's to grab those developers without having to pay, pay them to have exclusivity on the storefront. And so, I mean, I kind of see why he suddenly, changed his mind about it. But, it's a little bit disheartening because NFTs, if they're not scams and not used by grifters, let's just say that, it is still burning up the planet. Particularly like Bitcoin 2, Ethereum, like, all cryptocurrencies are burning up a lot of energy, and it's kind of crazy that people are using, those cryptocurrencies, in my opinion. And so it's concerning that Epic is doing this, and so I hope they'll change the decision. Not to say that Valve is the bastion of, good morals and whatnot. To be fair, they kind of have their own NFT in a sense, right? With the skins that are within CSGO and whatnot. But to be fair, there are multiple copies of the same skin, so it isn't just, I'm paying a few million for this one skin. And not only that, it's not burning as much energy to make those as it is, NFTs and like the whole blockchain technology. So, while, Valve isn't necessarily the greatest company either with this few things that's going on, at the very least, they aren't using blockchain technology that is legitimately burning up a ton of energy and whatnot. And they also don't flip-flop. They are staying, at least so far, true to their morals and whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see if there are any NFT games or blockchain technology using games that do move on to Epic because Valve decided to ban them from their storefront. We'll see if also Microsoft and Sony will maybe make a game or try to do that. with their own games, it'll be interesting to see. I hope they don't, though. Now, next thing I want to talk about is Metroid Dread. Now, the game itself, wonderful, and I want to by next week have a review of it coming out, but we'll have to first get through hard mode. We have to beat it in, I think, less than 4 hours to get all the completion stuff. So it's going to take some time, and I hope after this week I should be free. But anyway, there is something that is really concerning, though, about Metroid Dread that I do really need to talk about right now. Basically, Metroid Dread's developers, Mercury Steam, is criticized for not having crediting them and crediting developers. And so, yeah, it's a little bit concerning. So, released last week for a Nintendo Switch, Dread came out with an 89 on Metacritic and calling it the best 2D Metroid in the series. And now some developers want to know why they're not mentioned in the credits. Particularly, Nintendo developed the latest Metroid game in collaboration with Madrid-based studio Mercury Steam, and previous developers have taken issue with being left out of its section in the game's credits. And yeah, it's dumb that they're doing this. So let me scroll down to... Let's see. So a representative for Mercury Steam told Vandal that it normally doesn't credit developers who haven't worked on a project for at least a quarter of its production time, though it does occasionally make exceptions. And so I think this is really stupid, right? Because of the fact that they didn't work on at least a quarter of the production, they shouldn't be credited. That's dumb. In at least software development and just creating software in general, any time you spend on there is valuable. Because, you might not understand this one part of the code. You don't know how to do, let's say, missile physics or something like that. Even if that person contributes just that, that's enough to credit them. Game development is hard. Software development's hard. And any amount of work that they put into it, even if they fix one polygon on a model, I think they should be credited. It's not that hard. It really isn't. And so, Mercury Steam, do better. Credit your people, because your games are wonderful. At the very least, Dread, wonderful game. And you will be hearing my praises later on. But you can't be doing this. You can't just be not crediting them because they didn't work for at least a quarter of its production time. That doesn't make sense. Credit them for doing any amount of work and put them under the right credits. It's just stupid. But so, anyway, I'm done here. But basically know that Mercury Steam, this policy, bad, game good though. Oh, and here's your feel-good story of the day. You can play Doom on Twitter. Doom literally runs on everything, At this point, if Doom doesn't run on something, that'd be crazy to me. So up next, I want to talk about Minecraft Live's event, basically describing what's going to be added in the next update of Minecraft. And so now you can play in mud without being told off. You'll find mud blocks in swamp biomes, but now why make it your own? And then they'll also be adding frogs, and especially with Animal Crossing New Horizons adding the froggy chair back. This is great news for those people that love it. And so, yeah, they're adding more things into Minecraft, and yeah, I don't know how to feel about this besides they're just adding more content. And Minecraft is still a juggernaut within the gaming industry, and there's nothing I think you could really do to mess it up. Just due to the fact that it's so sandboxy and it's so, moddable, its lifespan is essentially indefinite. Compared to something like Metroid Dread, where, sure, you're confined within a certain map and you have to play within that playing field, Minecraft you could kind of just make your own. So, kind of interesting to see how Minecraft's still going, and now they're adding mud, I guess. And frogs. That one's cool, but, Next up, I want to talk about the remastered GTA Trilogy. Supposedly it'll feature GTA 5 style controls and high-res textures. It's just another remaster, basically, at this point, because, yeah. And we know what's happening because, first off, rating information was leaked, then achievements, and basically just a ton of information about the game has just come out now. And I'm not sure exactly how I feel about this, right? At the very least, like, GTA 5, it was a pretty big game, and there's a lot of time that you had to put into it to, complete the game. And this is indicative of most open-world games. So how the heck are you going to be able to play all 3 games? Unless the GTA Trilogy, at least for, the main story, was really quick to finish, I don't know how, like I can't, I guess, fathom like how you could play all the games to its fullest, right? Metroid Dread, it takes about 12 hours for a first playthrough, and then you need to do at least 2 other playthroughs on the normal and hard difficulties in order for you to get all the completion bonus. Now, if you only did one playthrough, 12 hours, $5 per hour, if you're paying $60, that's not bad. That's pretty good. I think it's better than movie prices at the very least. I haven't been to a movies for a while, but so, something like that. But for like Grand Theft Auto, like maybe $100 to $60, so it's less than $1 per hour, and so I don't know, unless you're just playing it for the story and none of the side missions. I guess you could do that, but anyway. Kotaku first reported on the then rumored GTA Trilogy, and then finally announced it with a tiny teaser and saying it'll contain 3, Vice City and San Andreas. And so, yeah, it's going to basically, I guess, just be running like modern GTA 5, but with a little bit of the nostalgia factor of the previous GTA games. So, cool, I guess. I don't know. I didn't grow up with the GTA games, so I wouldn't have any perspective on this. So, next up, I'm going to talk about Animal Crossing, and it's a direct that came out. So, basically, there's a free update coming the 5th of November, and with it, it'll come with the Roost. Basically, it's like a brewery area. It's kind of like a Starbucks, but in Animal Crossing. And you can invite AC characters via Amiibo. Cabin Boat Tours takes you to new islands with different weather time season, and Harv's Island donate bells to create new shops, etc. And there's group stretching, basically yoga with your friends, or with the villagers on Animal Crossing's island. Allows you to also cook with your own vegetables and ingredients, and max storage is raised to 5,000. And there's going to be new fences and fence customization, 11 new hairstyles and reactions, pro camera update, new Nook phone app, Island Life 101, redeem miles for items, new external storage, and more KK Slider songs. We love KK Slider here. Now, gyroids are coming back, new tool ladder setup kit, and basically allow you to place permanent ladders, Froggy Chair. And yeah, it'll be coming out, and this is the last free content update that'll be coming out the 5th of November. Now, the paid DLC, Happy Home Paradise, also got announced. Characters with dreams come to the island. You have to build a perfect home for them, select an island for them, place the requested furniture, start designing, yada yada yada. And so yeah, you get to basically just kind of like make a home simulator for the animals, essentially. And so yeah, it's pretty cool, but here comes the new controversy with Nintendo Online plus the expansion pack. So let me talk about that next. So Nintendo Online, basically a much cheaper service for less service. So yeah, let's just say Nintendo Online isn't that great, at least in my opinion, compared to like PlayStation and Xbox's services. Yeah, Nintendo ain't got much on them. Even though it is a lot less, it's not as great. It definitely could do a lot more work. And yeah, we should definitely demand that. But now, the long-awaited expansion pack, play N64 games. You get the New Horizons Happy Home Paradise DLC with it too, and you can play Sega Genesis games. But so what? Why is there so much controversy around this? Because if you want to get an individual membership with the Nintendo Switch Online and expansion pack, you have to pay $50 per month. Now, if you have a family membership, you have to pay $80. And so, yeah, let's just say that people didn't take too fondly to this, right? Now, of course, if the Nintendo 64 games library and the Sega Genesis games library was huge, I guess there would be less controversy, right? But take a look at the N64 games. You got Super Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, Star Fox 64, Yoshi's Story, Legend of Zelda, I think that's Ocarina of Time, Winback, Mario Tennis, Dr. Mario 64, and Sin and Punishment. And so, yeah, it's not a lot of games for $50. And obviously they're going to add more games, I think, right? There's no way they just put 9 games out and just, there's no way, right? And so, yeah, there's 9 games with Nintendo 64 for the Sega Genesis. There's 14 games. There's Castlevania, Sonic, Echo the Dolphin, Ripstar, Phantasy Star 4, and a few other games. And so, I mean, sure, you have access to a bunch of these games, but yeah, that's not a lot for $50. And I also think that people are also mad because there isn't a virtual console, right? Because if Nintendo kind of had something similar to the Xbox Game Pass, I don't think people would be too mad about that, because then they could add all their old games on there for a subscription fee. They add maybe a few new games and remove some of the older games, not like older 64 games, but like newer old games. So let's say Ori and the Blind Forest is in there, and then they got rid of that and added some other new game. Maybe, let's say, Metroid Dread, for example. And then if they had something like that and then they added these games for $50, I don't think people would be throwing a fuss, right? Because that's pretty good value. But the thing is that people are paying $50 for a DLC that might not stick with them if they leave the service, and altogether about 23 games. Yeah, people didn't take too fondly for this, and so, yeah, let's say it just caused a lot of controversy, especially with the $50 for 12 months? Sure, that's not a lot compared to, like, if you look at it like on a per month basis, and especially with the 12 months, if you're sharing with at least just 2 people, it's even less. It's just, people expected a lot more. Like, they were thinking like, a lot of the library for $50? That's not bad, because you could play some of your nostalgic fan favorites, and then, you could have some fun with that. But let's just say it's caused a lot of controversy. And what I think, they definitely need to add more games if they want to justify $50, Because, not to say that old games are bad, right? But some games on there, like Super Mario 64, are already paid. And you could just, buy the 3D All-Stars pack. And so, I don't know. I think it's a little bit ridiculous that they're charging this much for these games. And that they don't even have, like, GBA games, which it should just work. Like, you could say for DS, it can't work on a Switch, or it takes some time to fix that because, it's only one screen, it's not 2. But GBA games is literally one screen. How hard is it to move the games from there to there? I don't know. And so, at this point, $50 for this, not justifiable. Especially if you can buy the Happy Home Paradise for, I think it's been rumored $25, then this is not worth it in my opinion. And so, Nintendo needs to add more in order for people to think this is even justified to begin with, but also just bring back the virtual console so that people can buy older games, such as GBA games. Maybe they want to play some SNES games, NES games, and maybe even bring back like GameCube and even Wii games, especially since that the 3D All-Stars pack for the Mario collection showed that they can have like Wii Remote-like controls with the Joy-Cons. It can be done, I think. And so, disappointing, yes, and I think they should improve. So basically just don't buy the expansion pack. So, that's the end of this week's news. It was pretty interesting, actually, particularly with the whole Tim Sweeney backtracking on his statements about NFTs, and that's kind of hilarious in its own way, but it also kind of is telling about his policies about that. Kind of interesting. Nintendo also not only messing up some things, but also doing some interesting things. Mercury Steam, do better, please. Please. And so, kind of interesting to see this week's news, and I hope next week has just as interesting, just, without the whole not crediting our developers because they didn't work for at least, a quarter of its production life cycle. Just put their names on there, at the very least. If they didn't do too much, just put in a special thanks section. But you need to credit them. You need to credit all the people that worked on it, because any amount of work, you have to put them on there. But so anyway, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all next week. Hopefully with a Metroid Dread review, and if not, eventually with that one. At least you'll get this week's, this week's news, or next week's news, excuse me. So, we'll see.